What is happening, everybody? I'm Larry Roberts.
And I'm Sarah Lucy, and this is Branded, a comprehensive guide to creative branding.
And on this episode of the podcast, we are going to surge with our guest today. His name is John Svedese. Tell me how to say it before we hit record. Say it again.
Svedese.
He was
Ceviche. Mozzarella. I don't. We're close. So, but anyways, we're going to talk about names. We're going to talk about names and personal branding. We're going to talk about what you do to maybe overcome some of the challenges that we don't look at as challenges when we're building brands. But John's got a unique perspective. He's got an amazing show called The Basement Surge. So he's also a podcaster, a YouTuber, and he loves bananas. So we're going to talk all about it today. So, John, welcome to the show.
Thanks, guys, for having me on.
The best intro you've ever gotten.
Yeah, I mean, I'm a little uncomfortable talking about my banana right in the beginning of the show. So
we like to cut the chase. You know, we don't not a lot of foreplay.
Start in the middle of the action, okay?
Yeah. Not a lot of foreplay on Branded. We get right to the heart of the matter. So while we're at it, man, seriously, tell us about the bright banana that's behind us there.
The bright banana, the neon banana sign, is kind of like an ode to my grandfather, right? So my grandfather, who I grew up with here in the building that I live in now, you know, he was around basically every day, and I took care of him in his last years of life. You know, he had advanced Parkinson's, and he swore every day with every meal that he ate, he would eat a banana. And every time I used to go into his apartment and visit and just hang out, he would offer me a banana. Have a banana. And I was like, no. You know, I like bananas. Don't get me wrong. You know, I don't like them every day. So, but he had them with every meal, and he had like one or two, and it was a little obsessive. But so the banana is an ode to my grandfather, because without him, you know, like none of this would be possible.
Oh man,
I love that it's like a silly thing with a like actual deep meaning.
Yeah,
like people ask me, like, my company's called Favorite Daughter Media, and people ask me like, oh haha, that's so funny, like where'd you come up with that? But it's actually like, oh no, it's my father, and how like hit my relationship with him is like he's my favorite person. Yeah, so I feel that.
Yeah. I had to do something, you know, because I felt like, you know, he was always a huge supporter of mine with whatever I was doing in my life. And, you know, I was like, oh, you know, and I was going to name the podcast like something banana. I was like, no, I kind of really want people to like take it seriously. So
why did he eat the bananas? Was there certain health benefits, or
potassium?
I mean, was it just was it the potassium or something there that helped him out, or
he was just addicted. He loved
bananas. I got it, man. I got
Follow us for more health and wellness tips.
Yeah.
That's it. Yeah, follow us for more recipes. Yeah.
That's too cool, man. Because I mean, my grandma was very instrumental in everything that I did, and I wouldn't be where I'm at today without my grandma either. So that really rings true to me. So I love that story, and I love that you've incorporated it into everything that you're doing as part of your personal brand.
Exactly. So, you know, so every video I put out on YouTube, every episode I put out of the podcast, you know, it's right there in scene, you know, and you can see it. So
that's cool. You a big fan of the Savannah Bananas by any chance?
I don't know what that is.
Oh, it's a.
It's like the Harlem Globetrotters of baseball, but better.
Okay.
I mean, they're a minor league ball team, and they've basically just revolutionized branding, you know, for a minor league sporting event. And they are amazing. They wear bright yellow uniforms, and
they dance and
they get the crowd involved in every game. I mean, it's an event. It's more so, you know, I know going to a ball game is usually an event in and of itself, but they just take it to the next level. I mean, they just 10x the engagement with their audience, and because of that, they've become a nationally recognized brand. And check it out, man. Jesse Cole is the gentleman that founded that. And he runs around in a yellow tuxedo with a yellow top hat everywhere he goes. It's like
and
me
a
in the
little
red
monkey
hat
wearing boots.
That's marketing.
Dude, he is a genius. And, he came under fire for a lot of what he was doing because people felt that he was disrespecting the game of baseball by renaming the team the Bananas. And you had all these hardcore baseball fanatics that were really coming at him. But now he's proven and taken this team to just unbelievable heights. And they're making, money hand over fist as well, while providing a really engaging family environment that's just unmatched anyplace else. So, I would highly recommend you check that out.
Awesome. You know what I love about this show is that we just spent the past 5 minutes talking about bananas.
Because we can. And that
not counting the minutes we spent before we hit record.
Right. Yeah.
We missed some great banana banter before we even hit the record button. So,
it was fruitful conversation.
Hey, wow. Yeah,
it let us slip right into this conversation that we're having now. So
this show is so appealing.
So help us peel back the curtains a little bit, John, and tell us more about you and how you got into the podcast space and how you're leveraging personal branding to make your impact.
Yeah, well, I got into podcasting just because I was literally looking for something to do, right? So I was just looking for a hobby. This is pre-pandemic, so I was not one of the ones that jumped on the bandwagon. So I was literally looking for a hobby, and I approached my best friend. I'm like, hey, let's start a podcast, because he and I, when we were kids, I've known him for like 30 years now. I'm like, hey, let's start a podcast. And he's like, yeah, sure. Why not? And so we started, and, the rest is history, really, only because it's like when we started the show, we were going to talk about what it's like growing up in Brooklyn. We didn't really have a niche, and I kind of still don't. But and it was one of the hardest things to grow is a general discussion show.
Sure.
Okay. Because your audience is literally all over the place. And so we decided, all right, we're going to stick to a couple of core concepts of video games, movies, TV shows, stuff like that. Typical guy stuff that we did here in the basement, because we actually hung out down here in the studio as kids. So we started production and quickly moved into doing live streaming, live shows, and it just took off from there, kind of, because what I had done is that I have a very heavy design background. I do a lot of graphics. I do a lot of video editing, right? So I wanted to incorporate that into my show and grow the show in a way that's design and everybody, I could show off my work, kind of. And that's what I did, once we started doing live streaming, I started editing video and I started implementing graphics, and I made a fancy intro for the show. And, which since then, it's funny because, correct me if I'm wrong, because a lot of people now I'm hearing like, you shouldn't have an intro. You shouldn't have like intro music and intro video in before every episode. And I'm like, you know what? Screw it. Because I'm just going to do what I want. And because it's the brand, I think, because once you hear that song pop, okay, you're listening to the Basement Surge.
Sure.
Sure. I don't think I hear many podcasts without that.
Well, what I'm seeing and what I'm going to be doing with my brand new show called AI Proof that'll be dropping in the next couple of weeks. If
you ever record the trailer,
yeah, back it up. We're going to edit that out. But what I've done is I think my intro is like 8 seconds. It's super, super short and gets right in there. And in seeing how a lot of the creators are doing things today, at least some of the current creators and newer creators, it's like they're leading with a hero clip or a value prop right at the front of the video or the front of the episode. Then they're dropping into a very quick intro with quick music, 6-8 seconds, and then getting into the content. So not a lot of innocent banter. A lot of times I'm not hearing a lot of that, not seeing a lot of that. It's really, let's just cut to the chase.
Yeah.
And as I've seen more and more of that, I've started to understand why, because there's one particular creator that I watch quite a bit on YouTube. And if you're scrolling through YouTube, you usually get that, a 5-second preview of the video. And then if you click play, you get that 5-second preview of the video again. This guy has a very irritating intro song, and it takes forever to get through it. So that's what you end up hearing on that preview clip. Then when I click on it, I got to sit through it again. So it gets a little frustrating, and I find myself consuming less and less of his content just because I don't want to hear that stupid intro.
See, I agree with that. And I know podcasts who have that kind of music, right? The boring, like, oh, it's too long. Like nobody really cares. But I try to make my intro as interesting as possible, right? So if you're watching the show on YouTube, then, you're watching the intro where you see flashbacks during the intro of previous episodes, people I've had on the show, or, certain things that we've done maybe out in real life, so I try to make it as interesting and as appealing as I possibly can. This way it holds the retention on the video.
Right.
I feel like you need something like,
right.
So like you said, like as soon as it starts, like, what this is.
Right. Yeah.
And one show that I just I think does an amazing job at this is Brand Science. I was just a guest on it recently. The host is named Dave. And I'm only saying that because I don't know how to pronounce the last name. But
Svedese.
Svedese.
Yes.
But no, the host does such a great job. Like he does a hero clip, but makes sure that he ends the hero clip on a cliffhanger. Right. And then he does like a really cool intro, like setting the stage and what we're going to talk about using clips from the episode. But even my own episode, like he ends that hero on a cliffhanger, and I'm like, oh, what do I say next? It's like I knew what I said, but I still he set it up so well that I'm like, oh, I want to listen.
Yeah. See, like I start every episode with basically saying, all right, well, in this episode, I'm going to be talking about so-and-so. And then all that and more on this episode of the Basement Surge. And then the intro will hit. And then once the intro is done, I'm always, with every episode, I'm like, welcome back to the Basement Surge. I really get into it. I really kind of shock them back into it. And it's something that welcome back has stuck since episode 1. So it's kind of like, my tagline within the show kind of.
Do you record that intro before or after?
That depends. Like if I have a guest on, like I just had Larry on my other show, Surgecast, where I record the episode, the interview first, and then I'll go back and do an intro and an outro. And now that I actually upgraded my set recently, I'll try to do the intro, like standing up here at the desk, and then the outro I'll do sitting down on the couch down there. I try to change up the scene a little bit to keep the video more interesting,
Yeah. I mean, and that's what we do here with the cuts that we do when we edit the videos is we make sure we have those jump cuts. We'll occasionally have, like, when you watch this episode, there'll be 3 of us on the screen. Then if you're talking, we'll jump over to you and you'll fill the screen. Sarah starts talking, and we bounce back and forth every 5 to 7 seconds to keep that engagement and keep that interest. And with the attention spans that we're working with these days, we have to do that in order to break up the monotony of the conversation.
Yeah. So
even if it's a great conversation.
That brings up a good question. Do you think a short form video is really killing long form? Because the attention span is really, going down in the world.
Yeah, I don't know that it's killing it, but it's definitely impacting it. I'm seeing a lot more success with Reels and YouTube Shorts and 3, 5, 7 minute videos as compared to consumers sitting and watching a 30-minute or 45-minute podcast episode. If you start looking at those retention stats, you can see where things just start dropping off. It's very, very difficult to keep that attention for the entire span of an episode.
Yeah. I feel like even though video podcasts are number 1 right now, I feel like people don't actually watch it. Even if they are, it's up on YouTube, it's on another tab somewhere.
Right.
Like you're not actually sitting there and watching a podcast. At least I don't, because you're just sitting there watching people have a conversation. And I guess that's kind of weird, but it's working, but I don't think people are actually watching as much as YouTube would make you think.
Well, and what I do that too, and I've said that for ever since we've known each other. I said I consume all of my content on YouTube, but it's always on a different tab as I'm doing something. And if I hear the conversation take a turn, maybe it starts to get a little aggressive, or they start to laugh or whatever, I may tab over to check out what's going on. Yeah. But one of the things that I'm seeing from stats, and Edison just released their latest podcast consumer stat report day before yesterday. So if you haven't seen that yet, I highly recommend you check it out. But what we're seeing now is more and more people are consuming YouTube on their televisions. So when I'm in my development office, sitting at my other desk, and my TV is on the wall, I've gotten to where I'll put a podcast or whatever it is on YouTube up on that TV as I work on my stuff. So it's always right there. So I'm starting to see me consume more and more video content from YouTube. So it's kind of interesting to see how the more people are cutting the cord and the more people are getting away from streaming, YouTube is quickly becoming the #1 resource for a ton of entertainment.
Absolutely.
And on that note, thank you for joining us today, folks.
This was fun. Good times, guys.
We're so professional.
I know, it's amazing. I love this show. But it's so funny because I had somebody, she emailed us, a listener emailed us the other day and said, whatever you do, do not cut out the banter. Don't edit that out, because we say we're going to edit that out. And she actually wrote us to say, whatever you do, don't edit the stuff out, because it just makes the conversation more realistic and more fun. So
a lot of times it's not even banter, it's just bloopers. Like our blooper reel is the episode.
You guys should have a Patreon. Just release it over there.
Just for bloopers. That's not a bad idea. Monetizing your podcast. So let's go that direction.
Embarrass yourself for money.
That's what I do.
I've done worse for money. I can promise you that. So talking about monetization, John, what are some of your strategies there?
Well, I've literally tried to monetize the Basement Surge since day one, right?
Okay.
So, and I quickly brokered deals with other companies as far as affiliate marketing, right off the bat. And it worked out really well. But, sometimes like we signed up with companies who were new to the game, and I didn't have much of a history within the podcasting industry, and they've kind of since disappeared. But as soon as day one, I signed up with Amazon affiliates. I'm huge into affiliate marketing for me, promoting products, promoting brand names. I signed up with I signed up with Impact. That's another affiliate platform, Impact, and where I get to work with companies like Paramount Plus and put their links within the show notes. So affiliate marketing is really good for us. But a majority of the money that we make actually comes from local businesses here in the neighborhood, because we're big on working locally with small businesses. And they are more than happy to try to, get the word out. And, so that's worked out really well for us.
That's cool. And it's funny you say local businesses, because oftentimes that gets overlooked. But that was one of the first sponsors I ever had. When I had my first podcast, I went to local businesses here in the Metroplex where I live in the Dallas-Fort Worth Metroplex, and hit them up. And one of my first sponsors was Freebird Burritos. Okay, kind of like Chipotle, but it's a competitor to Chipotle. And I got free burritos for lunch if I mentioned them on the podcast. So nice. I'm like, I do love a good burrito. So it worked out perfect. Now, they weren't a massive sponsor. I wasn't going to get rich, but I got full. So
Chipotle sponsor us.
What? Who's that?
Chipotle sponsor us,
I do love me some Chipotle, but man, Chipotle right now going through a little branding issue themselves.
Are they?
Oh, it's huge, because their prices are going up, their portions are going down, and people are actually filming themselves going into Chipotle. And when they give them just a little 2 grains of rice in their burrito bowl, they turn around, they walk out. It's it's gone viral, honestly, right now. So Chipotle's struggling a little bit. Yeah,
a lot of videos on TikTok are showing that.
Yeah.
I have not seen that. That makes me sad. I did notice that the last time. I was like, can I have more rice? That is nothing.
Yeah, 100%. And they're charging more. So it's freaking
sponsor us. We'll fix your brand.
You fix us lunch, we'll fix your brand right here at Branded.
Step one, right. More rice.
It's right.
7 cents a pound. You got this.
Yeah, it's not that expensive. Not that expensive. So that's cool that you were using affiliate marketing, because we use that a lot as well. Sarah more so than me, and Brandon more so than me, because for whatever reason, Amazon said I was selling stuff to my friends. And so they shut me down. I'm like, well, that was very, very rude. Of course, I'm selling to my friends. Duh.
Wow.
But I think the local business part is interesting too, though, because we think of podcasts not as local. Podcasts reach everywhere. And I've even told kind of recommended against local businesses like looking to sponsor, like for sponsorships from local businesses, unless your podcast is super niche for an area. Like if it's a podcast about Brooklyn, then go to Brooklyn, like stuff that makes sense. But I feel like it is overlooked by a lot of shows if they are local. Like you might as well.
And you know what? That was the thing with the Basement Surge, was that we promoted that we were from Brooklyn, New York, right? So we approached pizzerias here in Brooklyn, bagel stores, you know, little diners and luncheonettes, and you know, things that were things that were synonymous with Brooklyn. You know, we approached them and said, "Hey, do an episode, sponsor an episode of the Basement Surge."
And did it work? I mean, you got some
sometimes,
sure.
Sometimes, you know, sometimes I have a pizzeria right by the house here that, you know, likes to work with us, and I've been going to them since I was a kid, you know. So it's you form relationships with companies and people who around the area that you grew up in. I mean, especially for me, I've been in this same house for 40 years, you know. So so I know every business owner that's around here. You know, so I can go at any time. I can be like, "Hey, I'm running the show. You know, how'd you like to sponsor an episode? How'd you like to sponsor a season?" You know, so because we do seasons on the show, so you know, it works out. You know, it's good promotion, especially locally, because every summer we like to do what's called the mission, right? And the mission is us rollerblading 8 miles around Brooklyn, and we raise money.
I'll follow it in Uber.
We've partnered with the Michael J. Fox Foundation for Parkinson's Research.
Oh wow, that's cool. That's very cool.
So every summer we raise money for the foundation, and this year is actually the first year that we're going to be having a sponsored event. You know, so it's going to be awesome.
Oh, that's amazing! Really cool. I love that. Yeah, I mean, Sarah doesn't know who Michael J. Fox is, but I'm a big fan.
Back to the Future.
She's like, "Is he that Family Ties guy?" I don't know.
Okay, I don't know Family Ties, but I know he's from Back to the Future.
She doesn't know Family Ties, John. She doesn't know Family Ties.
I know Family Matters.
Okay, all right. Yeah, that's Urkel.
Did I do that?
Yeah. Family Ties was what got Michael J. Fox going. It was a series.
He was doing Family Ties the same time he was doing Back to the Future. I mean,
he was.
I've never actually seen Back to the Future. I just know he's in it.
You just know the name. I gotcha.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Okay. So my favorite Michael J. Fox movie. We're getting on a tangent here, but by far, Teen Wolf.
Yeah.
Isn't that like a CW show?
A what?
A CW.
Well, yeah, but it's not that. It's not the right Teen Wolf. We're talking Michael J. Fox. He becomes his family has a lineage of being werewolves, and he turns into the wolf, and he plays basketball really, really well when he's the wolf.
Oh, that's like the one on Disney Channel where he plays basketball, but he turns into a leprechaun, and so he just gets really short. So then he gets worse at basketball.
Oh, well, this was the opposite, because when he wolfs out, he became, and it's interesting. Honestly, we should do a deep dive into Teen Wolf, because when he wolfs out, he becomes a personal brand, and his friend Styles starts selling Teen Wolf T-shirts, and he makes a whole business out of the wolf, and they actually get the Wolfmobile. They buy a panel van, and they cruise through the town, and Teen Wolf is on top of the van surfing, and they're doing all this city. He makes an entire business out of Teen Wolf. So that would be an interesting dive into that movie to talk about personal branding, because I didn't even know what it was back then, but everybody was wearing a wolf
version
shirt.
of Hannah Montana.
Very well, maybe. Yeah, generational. Yeah, that could be interesting. I mean, that could be an interesting topic for real. Look at generational messaging on personal branding. That might be a future episode, John. You're an inspiration.
You're welcome. You better do it before I do it on Surge.
I'll have a lot to contribute.
I kid you not. I just went to LA this past weekend, and on the flight home, I promise with every ounce of my being, I watched Teen Wolf on the flight home. It's on my phone. It's on my phone. I take Teen Wolf with me everywhere.
I haven't seen that movie in years.
Oh my God. Yeah, I still cry when he makes that final basket. I've
never even seen the CW version. So
well, that's not a good version. That's bad. No, but this is it's even a different concept. But anyways, we got way off base on Teen Wolf. I got excited.
So branding.
Super excited.
Well, speaking of like the local niche, like with podcasts, that's something that really is powerful in like the real estate space. And we talk about that a little bit. Like, well, I don't know why you're laughing at me right now, but
I love how you were able to just go slammed on the brakes. Went so back to local
I am a
podcasting, and it's
consummate
very effective
professional.
in the real estate space.
I am such a professional.
She's a pro, Larry. You leave her alone. Let her do the show.
I am not a pro. So all right. Go ahead.
But it's interesting that like that's the approach that you take and being very like local forward. But with like if you're like a real estate agent, launching a podcast in your area and creating those relationships with local businesses, like you said, you have relationships with like every business owner in your area.
Yeah.
In certain industries like real estate, those people become your referral source. Sure. And it's such a powerful way to build a business.
Yes.
And like, is there something that you do outside of podcasting like that has come into play, or is like podcasting your full thing?
Podcasting is really the full thing, because what I like to do is I approach the stores here in the neighborhood that are really prominent, the ones that have been here for 30, 40 years. Like we have an Italian specialty food store right around the corner from my house. And I approach them and I'm like, all right, how'd you guys like to sponsor an episode? This is what the show looks like. And they look at the quality of the show and how I produce and put together the show, and they're impressed and they love it. So they're like, yeah, sure. Okay. So once I get them, I go to a pizzeria in the neighborhood and be like, hey, this store signed up with me before. And they'll be like, oh crap. Well, they're huge. We know them. Like, all right, yeah, let's do it. So it's kind of like word of mouth kind of thing,
Sure.
To where, you sign up, not the biggest guy, but the most kind of well-known guy in the area, first, and then you get all the little guys around them.
I like that approach, because a lot of people take it from the opposite perspective. They start.
I go big or go home, Larry.
They hope to build up. So no, I love that. I do. I love that. Because you're right. It does. It sets a precedence, and everybody else wants to be a part of whoever. A lot of people out there are followers. They don't lead the charge. But if you get that person that's out there that's crushing everybody, they're like, oh my God, I got to get a piece of that pie. So absolutely. I love that perspective there. That's really cool.
Yeah. It's sometimes it's nerve-wracking, because I'll be like, hey, I just run a stupid little podcast. But you have to think of your show as bigger than it is, right?
Sure.
Of what you want it to be. What it's capable of. What it's going to turn into. So go for those sponsors, go for those advertisers right off the bat. And you never know. I mean, what's the worst they can say? No,
Yeah, 100%. And it's funny because you have to have that faith in your show, but if you dial it back a little bit more, you have to enjoy your show or be as passionate about your show to have that belief.
Absolutely. Yes.
Because if I go back to my first podcast, was a comedy podcast, didn't know anything about podcasting, dude, that show crushed better than any show I've ever done since, from a numbers perspective. Had sponsors out the gate. People talked about it. We took it to a stage show in Dallas, and it was turned into an open mic that was I've never had a show reach that level of success, but guess what? At the same time, if I look inside, other than branded, of course,
you say this a lot, and it's always hurtful.
Probably haven't been as passionate about the shows that I've done as I was that first show. Because that first show allowed me to just be me. It allowed me to get on and just be stupid and say stupid things and talk to crazy, outlandish, wild people. And it was just fun. It was fun. And you have to have that same level of passion in the content you're creating if you're looking to monetize it, if you're looking to make that jump to do it full time. And if you don't have that passion, I think sometimes you have to overlook those industry standards a little bit, because you were talking when we first started up, talking about how you had this very broad niche. You had this wide audience. Your audience was everywhere. And you were talking to everyone. And we always say, if you're talking to everyone, you're talking to
no one.
No one.
Right.
The riches are in the niches.
And you hear that. And it's true. That's very true if that's your goal. But if you're looking to create content and you're looking to just have a great time and still have the opportunity to monetize it, and you have something that you're passionate about, freaking go after that passion, create that content, and build that foundation that you want to build. Because without it, you're kind of just creating content for the sake of creating content.
Absolutely. You know, I mean, I started Surge just to have fun, you know, just to have a good time with my buddy. And it evolved into a passion project, you know, like
Yeah.
I love Surge. I talk about whatever I want on Surge, you know, whatever my interests are. And if that translates into making money in some form, some way, then, you know, I'm down for it. And I'm always looking for it, because I always believed that, yes, okay, this is just a passion project. This is just a hobby. But, you know, I gave it my all. I gave it my 1,000%. I'm like, no, my standards have to be really high. And the quality of the video I'm putting out, the quality of the content I'm putting out, the, you know, just the amount of times I publish on socials, you know, just marketing, and it all has to be on point, even though this is just for fun.
Right. Right.
You know, for me, I'm going hardcore into it. You know, I do it because I love it, and it's a lot of fun, and I get to meet people like you guys, and, you know, and other celebrities, and, you know, it's amazing.
Other celebrities.
Oh, I know.
Because you're speaking to two celebrities right now.
Love it.
Even
though apparently I'm no fun, and Larry doesn't like doing shows with me.
Oh, good Lord.
Yeah, his first show does better than this one. It's okay.
It was just a different audience. That's all.
Oh, it's fine. My feelings aren't hurt at all.
It was a different time. It was a different audience. It was a different me. I couldn't do that show today if I wanted to, in all honesty. Right. I don't have that same, I don't even have that same approach to life these days. And I think completely different.
I think that there's something to speak about that too, Larry, because when I first started Bass and Surge, my partner, my co-host, was very abrasive. He cursed all the time, you know, like he made rude comments. He made, you know, sexual jokes, you know, and since then,
what's his name? I sound like a good friend.
Since then, the show has evolved into, he only comes on sometimes, and I run the show solo now. You know, but that's only because of his schedule.
He's in.
Oh, okay. Now. I was gonna say you only allow him to show up. Hey, bro, you could be on every once a month. You could be on.
Yeah, once a month. Yeah.
Once a month. No, you put a hard E rating on this one too. So just so right. You know.
No, he got married. He had a kid, so he couldn't devote as much time.
Sure.
So I kept the brand going. You know, I had to take up the mantle and just do a solo show. And get new guests on every episode. The show had to evolve, you know, and I mean, we've lost some of the audience, like some of the people that were there in the beginning who were here for my co-host, wound up leaving because he wasn't here anymore. And but that's okay. That's okay, because as your show evolves, your audience is going to evolve.
Right.
You know,
right.
It's kind of like selling product, right? So if you sell things for $10, you're going to attract a certain kind of customer. But if you sell things for $1,000, you're going to attract another kind of customer. Yeah. You know, so it's all about who you want to attract in the product that you're putting out.
No, John, you're right on, man. You got to have that passion, and that passion is going to drive the content. The content's going to drive the audience, and it's really a cycle. It really is. But the biggest thing is we just have to start. We have to start, and we have to try to find that audience. Do the work. Yeah, just do the work. That's the biggest thing. So where can people find out more about you and follow you on social and subscribe to your show and all that fun stuff?
Sure. You want everything I'm putting out, head on over to surgemediany.com.
surgemediany.com. Well, yep. That's awesome, man. We will make sure that's in the show notes. Really appreciate you stopping in today. You definitely hit us with a few knowledge bombs, and it was fun just having a conversation. We got a little silly, so it was fun. A lot of energy in this episode, and I loved that. So
it was surging.
It was
very surge.
Yeah. And you slipped that right in there like on a banana peel. So. Wow. But anyway, if you guys found some value in this episode, and I know you did, do us a favor, hit that subscribe button so we can bring you these amazing episodes each and every week. And with that, I'm Larry Roberts.
I'm Sarah Losi, and we'll talk to you next week.